What's going on, guys, and welcome back to our Surviving Java series. We have Steve there AFK, and he's there AFK for a certain reason, because I want a bunch of these little copper golem statue dudes just to dot around the place and use for decoration. So I've got a whole bunch of them. It's also the oxidizing. I don't know if having this many of them together will slow down the oxidization sort of process or not, but they are extremely loud, so I'm just going to avoid that area whilst I'm actively recording. So the project that we're going to be starting today is the I spun the board after finishing last episode, and we've got the super smelter project. Now there's two stages for the super smelter project. One is that we need to sort out a fuel source. So for the fuel sources, we have got coal blocks, charcoal, sticks, bamboo. What other fuel sources is there? There's a whole bunch of different fuel sources that you can use. All the different woods, and I think like wood product you can sort of burn and use as fuel. But there is one that we are actually going to be going for. If we can just try hug this wall to avoid that noise. It is going to be the dried kelp blocks. So we're going to be doing two stages. One is setting up a massive kelp farm in order to produce the kelp blocks that we're going to be using for the super smelter. So this episode, because of the size of it and the scale and the amount of resources that I sort of need to get together in order to do it, I've not actually started any of that yet. I did actually go into a creative world and sort of design one. So if we go load schematics, not our ice farm, it is the kelp farm. No, it's not saved. Okay, I need to jump into my test world to make sure I save it. Hold on. Alright, let's try that again. If we go into here, go back to our kelp farm. Where are we? There we go. I actually saved it this time. So, the material list, the big one is going to be pistons. So we need just shy of 2 shulker boxes of pistons. And it adds up to basically every single piston is a kelp growing spot. So there's going to be 3,000 kelp growing spots. And I sort of worked it out, and on an hourly rate, if you take away the amount of kelp blocks that are being used to smelt the kelp to turn into kelp blocks, every hour it will produce just over 1,000 dry kelp blocks that we can then use for our super smelter. But there's two different issues. One is that we need to get a ridiculous amount of jungle wood, get the pistons. The frog lights isn't too much of an issue. Copper bars as well, there's tons of that, so like nearly 4 shulkers of copper bars. And from how long it was taking me to actually design the farm, we obviously had copper bars that was sort of oxidizing. We can use iron bars, like that may be a better choice, considering that iron is a lot easier to get than the copper. So I may swap that out for 4 shulkers of iron bars, because iron we've got just ridiculous amounts of, and it's very easy for us to actually get hold of. How much have we got on hand? Like 1, 2... Like we've got 2 full shulkers of iron blocks there, plus like a whole menagerie of different iron products in all of these boxes. So yeah, I may do that. Like copper, we're not hurting for copper. We can definitely do it out of copper, should we want to. But because it's going to be inside the farm, I initially wanted to use copper because I was thinking about putting it in our industrial area. But then I was thinking I don't want to have to travel all the way to the industrial area each time I want to smell a large quantity of items. I just want to be able to travel relatively close to base. Let's go into our little bedroom, because otherwise that slime's going to bother me. So we need to... No, not you. We need to find somewhere nearby that we can actually stick it. Now, the reason I want it nearby is because I just want to be able to fly very close by without having to spend 10 or 15 minutes going back and forth of travel time to get there in order to smelt stuff. But there's a second issue. I do not want it close enough to me, Sai, Clowd, or Mac down here that it is going to be getting constantly accidentally loaded, because it's going to be a relatively large farm. I don't want it in the flight path of anything else. So over here we've got like a turtle breeding place, and someone else's farm down there. We've also got I have no idea what that is. That may be the thing for the witch hut area. Is that correct? No, that's not it. That's my creeper farm area. That's the sheep farm, bamboo farm. So, let me have a look. Like, there is nothing that anyone has. Oh, you've got the witch hut area, which looks really cool from up here. My industrial area is over there. My fallout area is over there. You've got Cloud's volcano, which is up there. We haven't actually got, like, I don't want it to be this far, because if it's this far, I'm going to build a portal to it. So what I'm thinking is actually doing it, like, around this area here. Because it's not, like, so big that it needs its entire area. It just needs to be far enough away that it's not going to be accidentally loaded when we're travelling back and forth around this area of the jungle. So this area, relatively close to my base and away from Size and away from Clouds, and it's out of the way of Max, should be fine, and it shouldn't be getting accidentally loaded constantly. Like when people fly to the west, but usually people use the nether portals to do that anyway, so I can't see that being too much of an issue. So let's say here, create waypoint, future, super, smelter. Now, the kelp farm side of it is going to be dug completely underground. So I'm going to have to dig a massive big hole here. And then on top of it, I'm thinking of doing, like, decorating it in a certain style to obviously match the sort of jungle theme. Hello, buddy. We're going to get rid of you because you're really starting to bug me. Get rid of you, you, and you. Thank you. Thank you. Also got on these extra pack for the pots as well, so they sort of just match a little bit better. You can sit down. Not you. Why is I doing that? You can go into there. Happy days. So I need to go and quickly, well not quickly, I need to sort of print off the material list for this and get all of the materials ready, and then we can head over to that area, dig it out. But getting all of this together, it's going to take me probably a good few hours, to be honest with you. It's like nearly 3.5 shulkers of cyan stained glass. I think I chose cyan because, have I got like sand or glass? Actually, let me check my glass. Have I got like mass quantities of it? 1 shulker. Ugh. No. I know that I've got a whole bunch of sand. Well, I should have a whole bunch of sand unless we've used it for a project I don't remember. Okay, so I've got a whole bunch of sand, so I'm going to have to go and smelt up like 4 shulkers of this. But what I'm going to do first of all before doing that is get the pistons starting to get crafted using our piston auto crafter, which is over here. So I need to restock all of this with double chests worth of each one, because it was just shy of 2 chests, wasn't it? How many? Yeah, just shy of 2 chests or 2 shulkers of them. So okay, let me put the sand down here because that needs to go get smelted, and then let me start crafting all the bits and pieces, and then I'm going to head over to the jungle, dig that hole, and then once I've dug that hole out, I will bring you back so that way we can, what is here? We've got redstone, cobble, 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 cobble. Are you the piston one then? I think you may be the piston one. Yeah, iron, redstone. And okay, so we just need to top this one up. It looks like it's got quite a lot of materials. What did it run out of? I'm guessing wood somewhere. No, you've got cobble. Oh, it ran out of one of these cobblestone ones then. Okay, so yeah, once I've dug that hole, then I can show you the sort of individual unit, and once I build one of the units on camera to show you how it's going to be working, then I will sort of jump into a time lapse of me building the entire thing, because the one unit, I think I have to build 100 of them, because each one is 30 growing spots. So yeah, it will be 100 of them singular units. It's a very long project, so which is how comes I'm going to be splitting it into 2 different segments. So I'll catch you back after I've dug the hole and got all of these resources together. So yeah, catch you back in a fair chunk of time. Alright, so clearing it actually took a fair chunk of time. It took a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Not the chopping down the trees, but just digging it out. Like about that point there, I got so fed up with digging the area out, I ended up just using TNT. And I blew through that much TNT plus half a full infantry load of TNT. So I went through quite a lot in order to get down to deep slate level. And the reason it has to be a deep slate level, well, just down to roughly about there, is because it's pretty tall and I didn't want a big block thing sitting above the actual surface. But what we're going to do now is build one single layer so you can sort of see what it looks like. We are going to be using the schematic I've got of it, so if you haven't seen anyone use the schematics before, you can set it at layers. You've got different heights and then you can move the layers up and down as you build. So as you can see, the actual thing is going to be massive, but we're just going to do one single unit so I can quickly show you exactly how it's going to look. Well, just how the individual units are going to be. I don't know how I meant to get this to go the right way around though. I'm sort of going to have to fly and place them the other way after anyway. We do one of these, like I saw, and then blocks, like so, and then slabs. We're doing alternating slabs and blocks because the layer above and this one obviously needs a little gap in order to have the kelp sort of fly off to the middle, and we're using, did I just throw one of them on the ground? I freaking did. We're going to be using the bars, I was going to say railings, in order to create the gap that the actual kelp can drop down to. And then we could bring it up one layer. Do one of these, and then a whole bunch of frog lights. I don't think you actually need the light level high to grow kelp, because obviously it grows down in the deep ocean, so I don't think light is so much of a concern. But I also didn't want it to have spawning spaces for drowned to spawn in, so we're going to be lighting it all up to just prevent the drowned spawns. Because what would happen is that if a drowned spawns and it harvests the kelp, not the drowned but the pistons we're going to be placing, and then the drowned picked up that piece of kelp, that drowned then would not despawn, which is what we're going to be avoiding from happening. And then we use pistons and pistons and block. And this whole thing is going to be running off of a singular hopper clock, which is going to be running down this line back here, like so. Like so. I also haven't brought any kelp over with me, which is a little bit of an issue in hindsight, considering it's meant to be a kelp farm. More railings. Yeah, the amount of railings, I think it's like 6,000 railings in total this farm uses. Not railings, bars. Frick's sake. Yeah, iron bars. Not railings. I don't know why I keep on saying railings. And then glass. Yeah. And glass. Wood, and then a redstone line. Then we've got a repeater. The redstone torch towers that go all the way along the middle is literally going to be hooked up to one singular hopper clock down towards the bottom. We're just going to have a row of repeaters activating all of them from a singular hopper clock. We've also got a slime chunk here somewhere. The water part here is going to be a bit of an issue because we're going to need some blocks to place temporarily. Where's my torches? Not torches. Rockets. You going to need some dirt blocks. So many resources in these. Dirt. And some ice. Did I not bring... Oh my god. I don't think I brought ice with me. I know that I've got ice in one of my boxes. But I'm going to need a ridiculous amount. But luckily we made an ice farm, so I can go grab a shulker of ice before I continue the rest of the pods and units. Run you along there. Yeah, and then to do the water section, we're going to be putting in basically a line of blocks at the piston level. Same over here. And then we're just going to be placing the ice on top. Now, because we've got that gap down there, I don't think creating, like putting two next to one another is going to create a infinite... Why have I only got silk touch picks on me? It's not going to create an infinite source in between them, so I think every single one. Which means it's going to be 3,000 ice blocks in order to do this. Which I did not calculate for. But we have got more than 3,000 back at base. And then we're going to be placing trapdoors. And if you're wondering why trapdoors, it is... Basically, it's like where I was testing it, I initially had like half slabs here waterlogged. But the kelp kept on getting caught underneath the half slab. But with a trapdoor, it just sort of floats, hits it, and instantly gets flung out. Because I think it's got something to do with like there's a minuscule like height gap difference where you get higher in the water and the current becomes more apparent. But I don't know. I'm doing this based on the testing that I done, and whether or not it is correct or not is another question, because the original concept is sort of like a modified concept that I saw someone doing for Bedrock. But the concept that they were doing, one, is that they only had the one wide gap instead of the two. So they had this line not here, that line not there. But that's because you couldn't waterlog the bars. But when I tried it in Java, it would waterlog all of these, and the whole thing would just become a still big pot of water. And the kelp wouldn't obviously go down and then drop, it would just go to the middle and then sort of float. And then I changed it so it was too wide, so we didn't end up with this waterlogging issue. Yes, you can use the fence gates to prevent that. That is definitely something you can do. It is getting to night time already. And that's initially what I was going with, but then still I was running into issues of kelp. Quite a bit of kelp getting stuck on the edges. Because what was happening with the fence gates is that the items... Because when you open a fence gate, it will stop water, but it becomes like an invisible block. So when you throw items through it, the item will just go directly through. It's got nothing to collide with, but it will hold water at bay. But what I was finding with the kelp is that the kelp was getting pushed to the fence gate and then getting flung to the other side. And it was taking ages because it was just going back and forth. So that wasn't working, so I made it too wide with just the bars, and that is now working. The other issue is that they had the water source one back here, but then as the water was flowing, when kelp reached this spot and grew, it was actually causing another water source block, which was then making basically a too wide water source with no current going towards the bars that was only in it. So yeah, there was quite a lot of different tweaks and changes I had to actually make to it to have it work the way that I wanted it to work. But so let's place these trapdoors, and then literally it is just rinse and repeat. But I'm going to have to go get the kelp and also get the ice before I continue doing this any further, because there is no easy way to get into each layer after it's in place, so we're going to have to place the kelp as we go. So yeah, that's going to be the units. I now just have to build this 100 more times. So catch you after the time lapse. Alright guys, so 12 hours worth of digging and building later, over 40,000, to apologise that, over 40,000 blocks placed. It was probably a lot more time consuming than I was expecting it to be. I've not actually switched it on, so if there's any catastrophic failures, I don't know, we're just going to have to sort of wing it if that happens. But what I have gone ahead and done, we've got everything sort of placed here. This is all of our auto smoking section. So basically all of the kelp comes here, gets auto smelted, and I have fully primed all of these smokers. So every single one of these has a full stack of kelp blocks there. And then I've just filled it with basically items that can't be used as fuel. So we've got 4 being taken up by sand glass with another stack of dried kelp. And then this one is where it starts off, so 4 more not non-stackables, but stuff that can't be smelted, and then a stack of kelp blocks, and that is for every single one of them. The reason I've done it that way is because I do not have, like, just doing it this way, the way that I have done it, is just over 3 shulker boxes worth of dried kelp blocks. And to do every single hopper spot into hoppers and every single smoker, it would be nearly 5 times that amount, and I did not have nearly that amount on hand. So we've just done it this way for the time being. It's not going to bust or break or stop the system in any way. What we will do is once we start building up a backlog of kelp blocks all the way up there, which is where the excess goes, then I will start refilling all of this, so that way if for any reason whatsoever that this smoker completely goes and runs through all its fuel and this one doesn't get replenished in time, and then it would need this one not being replenished in time, and then it could break if a polished diorite goes into that 5th slot, because then obviously dried kelp can't get in. So it can break. So at the moment we're just running it this way, so it's fully primed, ready to continuously smelt, so that way the excess goes up there. Once we've got enough excess, and I'll start replacing them sort of temporary blocker spots with the actual dried kelp. But let's go switch this actual machine on. Let me move my microphone a bit. There we go. Just so I don't have to shout in order for you to hear. If I remember correctly, it should be 12 items. I've also got a block and a lever on me, just so we can turn it off should we need to. Now when I first turn it on, the first harvest, it is going to lag, because it is a lot of things being broken at the same time. So let's just see how much it does. Yeah, see them frames drop. But look at all of the beautiful kelp. And then we go over to here. So what we are looking for is that what we want essentially is after all of the 5 spots in every single one of these hoppers get filled, it will gradually move along the chain, and by the time it starts reaching the fire, it should be very little excess, because the way that I timed it is that it's roughly 19,000 items per hour that gets harvested from this kelp farm. So it is relatively quick, and it should be enough for 24 smokers to just keep up with a tiny bit of excess being burnt off, because obviously we don't want a lot of wastage when building it. But if I was to add another smoker, oh look, there's one of our kelp blocks. If I was to add another smoker, what was happening when I added another run of smokers, especially just 1 or 2 of them, what would happen is that 1 or 2 would only be smelting items every, like 1 or 2 items every 5 or 10 minutes. And that is just when we have a irregular growth period of the kelp plants. So yeah, it's roughly 19,000 items an hour, and then after it's smelted, the excess amount of kelp blocks that actually get produced compared to the amount that's being used to smelt the kelp works out as just over 1,000 kelp blocks per hour that will be getting as excess fuel. So after it's replenished the system, so as this goes along, it will start filling up the hoppers, and when it can't fill up any more of these hoppers, it will start going into that bubble column to go up to the top. Bulk value, like there you go. So it is now keeping up with the amount being actually smelted and the amount being produced, but we are looking at the kelp only reaching this point at the moment. So it's going to take roughly around about I'd say probably about 20 to 25 minutes for it to start reaching that end section of whatchamacallit, smokers. It's getting to night time, let me sleep, will you? I also covered the kelp plants with jungle half slabs, and that is to stop other items going in and getting taken into the collection, because I was figuring that when items go into the smelting slot in the smoker that can't be smelted, it then just blocks that the smoker from actually working. So that's how comes we've covered up all of this, and we covered up the water columns as well that go over the smokers and along the collection sections. Now, I can show you, this is not a lossless farm. We do get the occasion where you do get random straggled bits of kelp every now and again. It's not very common, but it's not like going to break the system. Getting still 19,000 worth of kelp coming in every hour is more than enough to keep it running for what we need it for. Now, when I was designing it, I knew it wasn't a lossless system. There are designs out there that are lossless, but the ones that I did find that were lossless used a lot more resources. Like, it used a lot more bud switching and observer activated pistons, in opposed to just having the redstone line and a line of pistons. So resource wise, compared to other farms of this sort of scale, it is extremely cheap, but time wise, god, it takes freaking long. Clowd did come over. He gave me a lot of moral support. Didn't do much work. He sort of just sat around. As you'll probably tell during the time lapse, he was just sort of standing around. Every now and again, I would like punch him off the edge or put him in the water, and then he'd sort of mainly because he was sort of preoccupied designing bits and pieces for other projects that he's working on. But yeah, so we are getting excess kelp blocks now coming in, which is all happy days. I'm going to keep this running for a little bit until it starts reaching the end. When it reaches the end, I will bring you back, because right now I need to start clearing up this mess up here. So yeah, hopefully by the time I've sort of consolidated all of these into the shulker boxes ready to be thrown into the sorter, then hopefully that should have reached the end and I'll bring you back. Alright, so it has finally started reaching the final smoker, which is all the way over here. And Clowd has actually come over and joined us. He's got his pufferfish in a bucket, and he's donning one of the hats that he's been working on. He's also working on like a full sort of hat pack, doing all custom hats for us. So I will sort of showcase them at the start of the next episode. Next episode, I'm not too sure what it is I want to do. I don't know whether I want to start designing and working on the super smelter that's going to be sitting atop of this, or if I want to go and do something else, probably adventurous or decorational, because this took a long time. It was like a good few days sort of designing, tinkering, and then a good few days gathering resources, and then a very good few days actually building the monstrosity. But we are now getting a decent amount of the kelp blocks in excess now that all the smokers are firing. This one is going on and off, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on it. But the kelp is now reaching all the way down here. So yeah, I think it's a case that once this one completely fills up, that it will then start moving to this, because this one's burning through sort of little bits that's coming in here relatively quickly, so it's not fully filled. We can actually have a look to see. Can we? Is there some way of us getting in there? Thank you, Cloud, very helpful. I did tell him that I was going to be doing a recording bit, so he always freaking blows his horn. How can I get in there to have a look? I think I'd need to get into that gap up there. Is there a way of me getting in there? I can't break this because otherwise the water will go everywhere, but I can. If I can do... Oh my god, I need like some blocks or something. No, I need to get in there. Let me get Cloud to throw me an ender pearl. I'm picking up kelp blocks. Hey, throw me an ender pearl. Dude. I don't know what. There we go. Thank you. Let's try to do this. Pick up 5 kelp blocks as well, and it's not going to help the system. There we go. So yeah, as you can see, this one's not filled up. This one is halfway. So once this one fully fills up and it starts working on this one, this is still getting a decent amount just from when a large amount comes in and this can't pick it all up. And then it will start filtering through to that one. So what I can do is to ensure that we do have a decent excess once we come back over here is throw a bot in this hole. / player. Let's get Steve on. In the hole, Steve. We should, you know what, let's do this. Seems that we picked them up. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today. Sorry that the episode's dragged on a little bit longer than I was actually planning, but it was a pretty big project to undertake, and this is only half the project. So yeah, we can see what we start working on in the next episode. Whether it's going to be the super smelter or it's going to be something else entirely, we do not know until I have made a decision. But I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye. Say bye, Cloud. Say bye. See ya.